Hello, Oilers Nation, and welcome back to another episode of Oil Spills. Take a look at these beautiful graphics I got set up here, and thanks to Kennedy from our social media and graphic design team. She's done a tremendous job in making this look all super fancy for me, so I'm super thankful for her, and super excited to talk about Philip Broberg today. The Oilers' young prospect defenseman is down with the Bakersfield Condors last night. Played in his fourth game of the season as he's worked his way back from an injury, and he had a great two-goal performance. One of the goals he scored was off the rush on the power play where he skated from his own end, split through the defense of the opposing team, and managed to find the back of the net. The second goal I really liked as well because he was kind of the third player in for a little bit of a chaos in the crease and was able to bang in a loose puck home. Really nice to see him taking some initiative and jumping up in the play in both scenarios there. Now, Broberg's an interesting case because if you remember, he came into the Edmonton Oilers training camp essentially penciled in for a spot on the Oilers' third pairing, but he kind of lost the spot through training camp. He put on a bunch of muscle in the offseason. He didn't really seem to know how to play with it at that point in time, but it's great to see him heading back to Bakersfield and getting some great work in there and being rewarded with two goals. Interestingly enough, he only scored 4 goals in all of last season in the American League. So for him to get 2 last night, he's already halved his goal total rather from last season. Now, of course, the biggest question moving forward is going to be, what do the Oilers do with Philip Broberg? There's no doubt that the team is having some defensive issues right now. The defensemen, all of them really seem to be a little bit lost at times in the Oilers' own zone, and the Oilers are giving up tons of goals against, especially when Jack Campbell's in net. Now, of course, some of this has to do with the goaltending as well, and I don't think Campbell's done as great of a job as he could up till this point, but it's also on the defensemen as well. And I really think that the Oilers might look to recall Philip Broberg here soon. And I think there's a way the Oilers can structure their defense that can actually become really effective. First and foremost, I'd take Darnell Nurse and keep him on the top pair, but I'd slide up Evan Bouchard alongside him. Bouchard's actually been a really strong defenseman for the Edmonton Oilers over the last 2 years. He really helped Duncan Keith as much as Duncan Keith helped him. And I think that Bouchard and Nurse have had some really strong underlying numbers, especially when Connor McDavid's on the ice. I think this is a great two defenseman punch to go with McDavid. You got Darnell Nurse, who can be a little bit more defensively responsible, and Bouchard can really try and get that puck up the ice, join in on the offensive rushes. On the second pairing, you could go with Philip Broberg and Cody Ceci. Now, these guys played together last year a little bit and had some middling numbers. Nothing tremendous, but they were positive in the underlying numbers that you really want to see. Then on the third pairing, you can go with Brett Kulak and Tyson Barrie. And similar to a Broberg-Ceci pair, this is another two guys who can kind of keep their head above water. But I think each pairing would have that strong element of a defenseman who's able to jump up in the rush and help drive some offensive play, and a guy who's a little bit more defensively minded in his own zone. Of course, on the top pairing, you have Darnell Nurse, as I mentioned, who'd be a little stronger in his defensive zone. Bouchard, a little bit more offensive minded. Second pairing, you have Philip Broberg, guy who's showing he loves to jump up in the rush and be engaged as an offensive defenseman. He's a great skater, one of his best assets. Then you have Cody Ceci, who can kind of be a little bit more of a stay-at-home defenseman, play a little stronger in his own zone. But on the third pairing, same sort of a thing. You have Brett Kulak, who could be a little bit more defensively responsible, allowing Tyson Barrie to kind of jump up in the rush. Now, the nice thing is that the Oilers' third and fourth lines have been really strong defensively this year. They're posting really good numbers, and I think those two lines could really help those bottom two pairings with some of the defensive zone play as well. Now, it's going to be interesting to see what the Oilers roll out in terms of some of the games moving forward here if they do look to bring up Philip Broberg. But right now, I think this would be an interesting way to kind of build the defense out for the time being and moving forward the rest of the season. As always, thanks for tuning in to Oil Spills. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe below, and let me know what you think about Philip Broberg and what he can do for this team.